in, boys and girls. Let's talk a little bit about the new Dodge Demon. Now we've seen the unveiling video, we saw the big presentation up in New York, and there's a lot of mixed emotions from a lot of people about this car. And I kind of wanted to speak to you guys as a Hellcat owner, somebody that's owned their Hellcat for just about 2 years, about a month it's going to make 2 years for me. And the way that it makes me feel as a Hellcat owner, the excitement that I feel for Dodge for releasing an utterly unbelievable car. I mean, this is a car that, you know, even 3-4 years ago, if you would have said all of the things that this car can do out loud, people would have thought you were fucking crazy. 840 horsepower. That's insane on a street legal car. The most powerful production V8 ever made. Now that's a big thing to be able to say. And they were able to say that a couple years ago when the Hellcat came out. But now it's all about bigger, better, bolder, faster, tighter. And tighter is a big deal. 1.8 Gs is what this car will pull. What your body will be forced under when you launch that car in drag mode. Only car that's ever been able to claim that in a production car. At least that's what Dodge says. I haven't run all of the numbers and done all of that research to know that for certain, but it is a pretty impressive statistic. It is, however, definitely the first car to get a drag racing setup in the suspension where it squats and lifts the front end. Remember the old days, for those of you that are old enough, we would put drag shocks in our muscle cars to get a better launch. Now this car will be able to do that with the push of a button by putting it in drag mode. You've got a line lock for the first time in history on a production car. You've got a transbrake for the first time in history on a production car. And even though it's a single stage motor, the computer, when in drag mode, and you have all these things activated and you're using the transbrake, it runs very similar to a dual stage setup. Meaning it's severely limiting the boost at launch. I think they said somewhere around 5 psi of boost at launch. So the car gets enough momentum up and it's got the traction to handle that quote-unquote second stage when it releases full boost a couple seconds later. Not even a couple of seconds, a couple of feet later. And then you get full balls out ridiculous power. It's the first production car ever made that will pull the front wheels off of the pavement. Now I love how wonderfully quick my Hellcat is, but I can't imagine having the torque available and the grip available to lift the front wheels off in a car this heavy. Now, even though they're chopping about 300 pounds off the weight, you're still lifting over 4,000 pounds. That's incredible. So for all the wonderful firsts that it has, including getting drag radials equipped on the car, all of these things, there's still people out there that are going to talk shit. The Ford and GM guys, they are so butthurt over this already. I've seen it all over social media, even in my own posts. Well, you know, Shelby did the Super Snake that was 1,000 horsepower. And hell yeah, they did. And it was a fucking amazing car. Problem is, that's not a production car. That's a third-party tuner. Same thing if you get, you know, a Celine or you get any of that other stuff. I went through the same thing. I had an 08 GT500, loved the car, it was amazing, and I considered getting it Super Snaked. The thing is, it's not a production car. You get your GT500 as a production car from the factory at your dealer, and then you have to ship it off to Las Vegas. Pay, I think it was $17,000 to $34,000 for the various stages of Super Snake, and wait until it gets done. So that's not delivered out of the box. That came from Las Vegas. So we're seeing a car right now. It's 840 horsepower out of the box. It uses its air conditioning to cool the motor. Now, Dodge didn't create that. I want to be clear about that. Ford is actually who invented that. However, they never put it into a car. It was purely just a concept. Dodge is the first to be able to claim putting that into a manufactured production vehicle. And that's a huge deal. Now, while the Hellcat, one of the biggest claims to fame, as they were promoting it before it came out, was that you don't have to worry about heat soak anymore. And that's something that a lot of us have had to deal with Dodges, with Ford, with GM, with pretty much anything. Once your temperature hits a certain degree, you lose a tremendous amount of power. Enough power to actually feel in the seat of your pants, and certainly enough to affect your ETs and affect your dyno numbers. But the great thing about the Hellcat is, even though we don't really experience heat soak, we do hit heat soak. But within a couple of seconds, it cools it back down. So if you're running hot laps, by the time you get back, you're probably in good shape. If you're running light to light to light to light on the street, you might feel a little bit more then because you're not giving enough time to cool off probably before the next red light. However, it is cooling down very, very fast, even in heavy traffic. I've watched this thing within seconds of those fans kicking on, dropping back down into my optimal performance zone. But now you're going to have a car that won't suffer from heat soak at all. It's amazing. But let's talk about how a Hellcat owner might feel about this incredible new car. And I do compliment Dodge on being able to do this. I'm going to speak from my perspective. This is now, I think, my fourth SRT vehicle. The least expensive being $46,000. Most expensive being the Hellcat, which was $70,000. So I've spent over $250,000 in the past 10 years on their vehicles. And I have taken a bath on every single one. Worse than any other cars I've ever owned in my life. Even cheap crap cars that I had when I was a kid and couldn't afford much, I didn't lose as much. Give you one example. One of my SRT8s I sold, paid $46,000 and change for it. It was a factory order, did not get a discount, paid sticker, did not pay an ADM, thank goodness. And it was, the car actually kept the longest. I usually buy a new car every year or 2 years, which is a dumb thing to do, but I'm a dumb person. I kept that car for 3 years. The last year I had it, I was desperately trying to sell it or trade it to get into the GT500. And I ended up just giving up on it, and I bought the GT500 at the same time and had them both. The absolute best I got out of it after paying $46,000, the best I got was $19,000. Same story when I got rid of, I had a Challenger SRT8, 2011, and I got just about the same money out of that. I think it was probably more like $22,000, $23,000, but that was it. And that was a $48,000 purchase. So I've taken a bath on every Dodge, worse than any other car. So I felt secure in buying a 2015 first model year of the Hellcat, because for the first time I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep a car for many, many years. I'm going to keep this thing. I'm not going to get rid of it in a year or two. I'm going to keep it for a lot of years. And at that point, past typical depreciation, a first year car of a limited run vehicle is typically going to be worth the most, the first year and the last year. So I wanted to get a 2015, I did. I wanted the Sublime with the black hood. That's what I got. And with only 300, I think it's 330 that were made, Sublime, black hood, automatic, in that combination with all the options, about 330 were made. I think I'm doing pretty decent. Now, I know if I get rid of it, you know, fairly soon, I'm not going to do great. It's going to depreciate. And it has. The Hellcats have depreciated tremendously if you've got more than 10,000 miles. If you got less than 10,000 miles, they're actually holding their value very, very well. But this is a daily driver for me. I have 24,000 miles on this car. It would actually be closer to 35, but I drive a lot less nowadays than I did 6 months ago. So right now, you're going to get about $44,000 to $45,000 tops. That's pretty bad. Now all of a sudden, fucking Dodge releases a new King of the Hill. The value of the Hellcat is going to drop tremendously. what I believe that they should have done is make an altogether new vehicle to put that drivetrain into. Or maybe do another Viper or Viper type vehicle. Because by making it on the same platform as my Challenger Hellcat, my value is decimated. I'm going to live under the burden of this car for years before I can ever really get rid of it. So if I find something next year, 2 years, 3 years from now that I fall in love with, I can't get it because I'm stuck under the burden of the negative trade equity in this vehicle. And even if I sold it outright, I'm still going to lose my ass off. So that's really difficult to cope with as a Hellcat owner that just invested in the second most expensive car that Dodge makes. Well, now it's the number one most expensive because the Viper is no longer made, but so it fell right behind the Viper. It's one thing to have this vehicle than have another vehicle that outperforms it, like a Viper, because it's a different class of vehicle. That's a sports car. Generally speaking, the customer for a 4-passenger vehicle like this, they keep calling it a 5. I don't know where they really get that from. You better have some small friends if you're throwing them in the back seat. But this is a fairly practical car. You got a big trunk, you've got decent gas mileage, you've got all the luxury options you could want, and you could seat 4 adults. In a Viper, you can't do that. So, whoa, and I'm going to get rear-ended. Oh, shit. I really did just get hit. Well, we're going to stop this for right now. Are you fucking kidding? Well, that was interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to get my seatbelt back on, damn it. Okay.
Cancelled.
I have to use an external mic because sometimes my supercharger and exhaust are a little bit too much for the mic on the camera. All right, so basically I just got rear-ended when traffic stopped. It's a great thing about having a Hellcat. The Brembos will stop the car very well. Unfortunately, for the guy in the ridge line behind me, his brakes aren't as good. Luckily, he barely tapped me and there's no damage, so drama is over. Let's get back to the video. So, not entirely certain what I was talking about, but so let you know, when a more powerful vehicle comes out, when you own a performance-based vehicle, you're buying it because it is performance-based. You're buying it based on what it can do and the power numbers and the acceleration and the braking and all those great things. And then the same company comes out with another vehicle that outperforms that. When yours is supposed to be the top of the heap, you know, it's going to damage the value of your car. Now, if it's something like the Viper, again, it's a different scenario. Those are really, in most cases, different customers looking at those. So you at least wait a little bit of time. This car has been out for 2.5 years and they're releasing the Demon on the same platform. So we're screwed. So yeah, fuck you, Dodge. That's a real shit move. It really is a shit move. However, it's business. That's the way it is. So when you get down to it, it's first world problems. How much are you going to bitch about it? Because, hey, you know what? You were fortunate enough to have a life where you could afford a $70,000 Hellcat, and we don't even know how much the Demon's going to be. I'm making the assumption that it's going to be around $15,000 more expensive than a Hellcat, and, you know, there's going to be record-setting dealer markups. It's going to be insane. So, you know, it's going to be a small group of people that could afford to own that car to begin with, and it is a more limited production car. They're talking around 3,000 cars. But then again, our car was supposed to be limited. In the first year, 2015, they made about 4,400 cars. And then, oh, geez, oh, you mean people like fast cars? Well, the demand's so big, we'll double production for 2016. That did not do our value any good. So now it's, it is what it is. But again, it's first world problems. You can only bitch about it so much before you really sound like a spoiled bitch. It sucks to take that hit in the wallet, but you don't ever buy a car as an investment anyway. If you do, you're a retard. The ones that you buy for an investment are the ones that, you know what, if you can afford to buy that level of car, you're not worried too much about a little bit of depreciation anyway. So, there's always that. Now, let's talk about the butt hurt. Oh my God. It's insane, all of the negativity we're hearing from all these other people. Listen, I am no brand loyalist. I do love Dodge. I've had several of their vehicles, and I've really loved them. I've enjoyed them. Even with the issues that each one has had, except for this one. This one's been a perfect car, believe it or not. 24,000 trouble-free miles. But, I've owned, like I said, I've had my Shelby, I've had GTOs, I've had a bunch of Camaros and Firebirds way back when, old F-bodies. And I don't really care. As long as it suits my needs, it's desirable in its design, and it gives me the performance that I want, then I love it. And I don't really care what the badge is on the fender. However, there are people that if it, they just live and breathe and bleed for a particular brand. So they're really pissed off that their brand has come up with their, what is the GM guys, their flagship is the ZL1 and the Z28. Oh my God, and the Z06. Again, you really need to just stop comparing a Z06 to a Challenger. Stop it. You don't compare a sports car to a muscle car. You just don't do it. Then you've got, the Ford guys with the Shelbys. Now, the GT500 hasn't been out for a couple of years, but it's getting ready to come back out, and it's going to be amazing. The GT350R that's out right now, for what it is, for a naturally aspirated car, that thing kicks ass. But no, none of those even hold a candle to the Hellcat. The ZL1 is real close, but it's still not a Hellcat. And now the Demon comes out, and it's just going to destroy them. So they're really pissed off. Well, it's such a big fat fucking boat. Who cares? Who cares how big and heavy it is when it's already going to outperform anything that your favorite brand makes? It doesn't matter. Well, you need 840 horsepower to be able to do that. Well, yeah, it's a car guy thing. Why wouldn't I want more power? Regardless of the weight of my vehicle, why wouldn't I want more power? If it can be done, then do it. Great. It's insane when you produce a car and then when you go to the drag strip to see how it performs, to add that to your marketing, and the NHRA verifies a 9.65, which again is a production car first, and then immediately bans you from competition until there's a roll cage and a fuel shutoff valve attached to the car. That's insane. That means the very first person that gets the very first Demon can't even run it at an NHRA track because the warning's already going to be out there. Nope, can't do it. It's a danger. Needs to have a cage and a fuel cutoff. That's insane to me. So until your favorite brand makes a car that qualifies for that, shut up. Until your favorite car can do, wheelies as it's pulling away, shut up. Until it's pulling 1.8 Gs, shut up. 0 to 60, 2.3 seconds. That's what a Bugatti Chiron does. Multi-million-dollar car that most of us are never even going to see in person. That's what a Dodge is going to do. How insane is that? It's pretty nuts. Well, it's a great, it's great to have all that kind of power, but it don't turn. My car will kick your ass on the twisties. Yeah, it's a muscle car. People tend to forget what a muscle car is made for, what it's always been made for. It's made for straight line performance, drag racing. That's it. It's not meant to be a road racing champion. It's not meant to be a rally car either. It's not meant to go out mudding either. So yeah, your Z06 is going to decimate the Demon when there are curves involved. Well, damn well better. It weighs a lot less, and it's made specifically tuned for that kind of driving. But put them next to each other on a drag strip, Z06 guy's going to go, my car's not made for the drag strip. It can drag race, but it's not made for it. Well, there you go. The Hellcat, the Demon, They're not made for road racing. They can do it, but that's not what they're made for. The Hellcat's actually done really respectably for those that have taken it out on road courses. They were surprised at how well it handled. Not with stock tires, mind you. But yeah, you're not going to beat this thing at a drag strip. You're not going to beat it in a straight line anywhere. Here's what always gets me about the road racing guys, the ones that always have to bring that up. These are guys that don't even go to the track generally. How often are you going to the track and pushing your whatever, Z01, Z06, whatever, pushing it to the absolute limits of what it can do? Even if you are doing the road courses, you're probably not pushing it that hard, because the car is far more capable than many of the drivers that own them. This car right here and the Demon are made to do what I, as a car guy, enjoy to do. I'm not really going to be going to the racetrack, and if I feel like going to a quarter-mile track, yeah, I can do that. But every car guy and every car gal, what do you want? When you're at a stoplight, you look over there and see somebody and they start revving up on you. You want to run light to light. You want to go balls out. When you're on the freeway and that GTR pulls up next to you, that Camaro pulls up next to you, whatever it is, you want to do that 60 roll. That's what we get a chance to enjoy on a daily basis. Now, I'm not talking about legalities here. Do that at your own risk. But that's what we enjoy, and we get to enjoy it on a daily basis. Not wait 2 weeks to get a weekend off and then take my spare set of tires and go up to the track and bolt everything on and then go race around and do a few laps. And I'm sure that's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of preparatory work in order to do that. And you're planning ahead. I don't have to plan ahead. I can hop in my car, back out of the garage, and go down to the first stoplight and enjoy the shit out of myself, because that's what these cars are made for. Will it go up to 200 miles an hour? No, mine does 198 miles an hour. The Charger Hellcat, however, does do 200. And I'm sure the Demon is going to run similar numbers. Now, with the gearing that they're running, it's made for drag racing. It may not have the same top end the Hellcat does. I'm not sure. But how many times have you driven over 140, 150? It gets damn scary. Every little thing in the road a mile up that you're looking for, every little curve that you didn't see. And then the thought of, what if a tire blows out? What if this happens? What if some mechanical failure happens? Yeah, so you don't really get to enjoy that much of it either. Hey, I'd love to have a Lamborghini Huracan, but for what that car is made for, I won't really get to enjoy it all that much. At least not to, the trade-off for trying to crawl in and out of that fucking thing. So stop trying to categorize the muscle cars up against sports cars and saying, well, it can't do this and it can't do that. You know what? In your car in a straight line next to mine that you're trying to compare it to, it can't do anything that the Demon can do either. So it is going to be a very controversial car. Is it practical? No. A lot of my friends have already asked me if I'm going to trade up, because they know that I usually buy a new car really quickly, and generally I move up. And I always want something a little bit more powerful. And the Demon is very, very tempting. But for me, to be somewhat practical with a wife and 2 kids, it comes only with a driver's seat. You pay $1, you get a passenger seat. You pay $1, you get a rear seat. And I started thinking about that, going, well, probably means that the driver's seat itself is not going to be a power seat anyway, because they're reducing weight. By adding those 2 seats back in to reclaim some of the practicality I need for my daily life, I'm kind of defeating the purpose of all the weight reduction. So it's kind of dumb for me to do that. And let's face it, it's just not a practical car. I'm sure it's going to be still very docile. Look, right now I'm in horrible traffic for no apparent reason at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Dallas. I'm not overheating. The car doesn't lurch and lunge like a car with this amount of power should. It's a very docile car. I could be driving a Toyota at this point and not know the difference. And I'm sure the Demon's going to be very good about its daily driving habits as well, but just not an overly practical car for my needs. I love the fact that you get a huge owner's crate and you get all these crazy things with it, including a new PCM. So you get 2 PCMs. You get your stock one. Then you have another one. If you're going to be running race fuel, you plug it in. It's plug and play. You don't have to go to your dealer to activate it or do anything. You simply clip it in. That's it. You're done. And you have your race fuel button right there on the dash. On the center console, excuse me. Again, that's a first for any production car in history. It's amazing. I would never use that. Do you know how much racing fuel is? Since I'm not going to the track, it's a wasted option for me. So there's a lot of really amazing things about that vehicle. I'm very, very happy that Dodge was able to pull that rabbit out of their hat. However, it's not practical for me. I'm not in the market for it. I'm much more excited about the Trackhawk, the Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. So it's the same drivetrain as this in the Grand Cherokee. All-wheel drive. How amazing is that going to be? So yeah, that's practical. It's cool. They look amazing. It's going to have incredible performance. You know that the grip and the traction is going to be amazing. So yeah. And funny thing is, the Grand Cherokees, of all the SRT vehicles, the one that holds the value the most. Vipers don't hold value very well. None of the Challengers, none of the Chargers, none of the 300s, none of them have held their value at all. But the Grand Cherokees most certainly have, and I don't really know why that is. So pretty damn cool. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. You guys may agree, you may disagree. I'm sure the comments section down below is going to get to be a major goat fuck. But think of it this way. Don't be a brand loyalist. Take that hat off for a minute and just look at all of the advancements that the Demon is bringing to the table, that nobody's ever done before, that nobody ever dreamt was possible in a production level vehicle. You know, don't bring up that stupid Hennessy Exorcist. That's a third-party tuner, and the guy's a con artist anyway. That car is probably never going to see the streets. Don't bring up the Super Snakes. That's not a factory car. You know, keep it to actual production vehicles. And you go, holy shit, this car is utterly amazing. Respect it for what it is. I respect Z06s, I respect the Z01s, I respect the CTSVs, the GT500s, the GT350Rs, the GTRs. There's so many amazing vehicles out there. From my particular lifestyle, for the desires that I had for a comfortable, drivable car with a lot of amenities and an impressive amount of performance, the Hellcat was my choice. I would take it right now and trade it hands down if I could get my hands on a 2015 Jaguar XF RS. They only imported like 50 into the United States, and I've searched for years and have not been able to find one. I had a Jag XF. It was an amazing vehicle. To have the XF RS, that thing is just utterly insane and a beautiful car. I would get rid of this in a heartbeat for that. That's not going to outperform this. It comes very close in performance, but it's that whole package. So, yeah, well, I love the GTR. I'd like to have a car I could drive daily and be comfortable. I've driven it. It was not comfortable. Everything else was amazing. The ZL1, I just don't like the new generation Camaros. It looks like a play school designer threw up inside of the interior of the car. It looks ridiculous. And I want to be able to see out my windows. Just not my particular kind of car. The Z06, amazing. I've had two Vets. I'd go back to a Vet again in a heartbeat. But again, can't strap a car seat into a Z06. So, you know, everybody has different reasons for getting what they get and loving what they love. Respect it. Try not to be too much of a dick about it. Look at what the Demon's offering. And the most exciting part of this, Dodge has been behind in the horsepower wars for decades. Ford and Chevy have dominated, even up until 2 years ago. I mean, hell, you had the 392 Challengers and Chargers, and then the GT500 was its competition. Well, shit, the GT500 was 650 fucking horsepower. That was insane. Then along came the Hellcat, and the Hellcat's the top of the heap right now, and the Demon's going to destroy that. The great thing about that is Dodge is raising the bar, and then Ford and GM are going to answer that call. And we're going to see more performance. Notice I'm not just saying more power. Yeah, 840 horsepower is a lot of power, but it couldn't perform the way it's performing without the drag suspension that they're building, without the cooling system that they've manufactured, all of these things working together in total to make that car perform. Yes, I could spend about $3,000 and bring my car up to 840 horsepower, and it might run somewhat similar quarter-mile times. But it's not the same. It's not the total package. So it really is a different vehicle. And they're making everybody else put more and more out there. So over the next few years, everybody's going to go back to the drawing board because of Dodge. And we're going to see a more amazing Shelby. We're going to see a more amazing Camaro. Hopefully something redesigned just so it's not an eyesore. But we're going to see so many. See, I got a little dig in there on you guys. I can be a dick too. We're going to see so many more advancements. We might, by 2020, 2021, actually see the first production level 1,000 horsepower car. You never know. I think that would be insane. But if somebody would have told me 10 years ago that we'd see a 707 horsepower factory car, I would have thought that was insane too. But it's happened, and it's pretty awesome. I love when people don't want to let you get over, like they're protecting their lane. I don't quite understand that, especially if it's the right lane. I understand maybe want to protect the left lane. Oh, really? Crap, all I want to do is exit here. I didn't realize it was an accident in the right-hand lane. This is just stupid. I literally just wanted to exit right here. Yeah, she gets sideways a lot because I had to go back to the all-season tires. I don't have my drag radials on there. I put those on every spring, but we keep getting enough days to get down below 50 degrees, and I just really can't do that. Anyway, them's my thoughts. If you guys agree or disagree, have at it down below. Dodge did an amazing thing. I think it's an awesome car, and congratulations to everybody that's going to get one. I'm not jealous, but I'm certainly very happy for you. And I know the first day that I ever come across one, and I'm sitting at a light right next to it, yeah, I'm going to tuck my tail between my legs because you got to respect the king. And I know very clearly that car would destroy mine. So have fun with that, guys. It's going to be, boy, there's going to be a lot of accidents. It's going to be a lot. There were a lot of people unprepared for the Hellcat. They literally bought a Hellcat and had never owned any performance-oriented vehicle in their lives. And, you know, twisted them up, threw them in ditches, wrapped them around fucking poles. The story of the guy that got less than a mile from the dealership when he bought it, one of the first guys to own it, and totaled it. And to actually say, well, I've only had Mercedes and BMWs. I've never had a performance car before. Why would you start with a 700 horsepower car and drive it with the red key and turn traction control off for your maiden voyage? You're a dumbass. So there's going to be one or two guys that are going to buy a Demon that have never had a car anywhere near that powerful. We're going to see some twisted up on the side of the road. But for the rest of you that know what you're doing, enjoy the car. It's going to be a hell of a thing.